brush with a hurricane here. It's coming up the coast. It was Hurricane Floyd, and they had us to work until I guess 4 o'clock on the afternoon of the day when everybody was supposed to be evacuated out of this area as part of the evacuation team, taking people back and forth from Fort George to Mayport and so forth, so they could get out of Jacksonville. They had ordered evacuation of the area because they thought it was going to be a Category 5 hurricane and it was going to hit right here in Jacksonville. Fortunately, it went about 100 miles offshore, and don't know if it ever became a Category 5 or not. However, we had to work past the point where the bridges were all tied down, so they locked the bridges down at a certain point in the storm, and we couldn't get under them to get down to Green Cove, so we moored up downtown at the Southside Power Station, Jacksonville. Anyway, we spent the night there and part of the next day, and we got some winds about 60 miles an hour, and there was a constant banging against the dock and stuff. But there was myself and an engineer and a deckhand aboard. We tied up with chains and cables and everything else, and I lived up here and slept on the deck here in the pilot house, and the engineer had a cot down in the engine room, and the deckhand had a cot that he set up in one of the lounges, passenger lounges. So between all that, we had food. We brought stuff for sandwiches and everything, and made it through it okay. And as soon as the winds died down enough, we came right on back out here and started helping in the not the evacuation, but the refilling of everybody coming back to their places in Georgia and Fort George and Jacksonville and so forth. So several of those hurricanes come up from South Florida inland, and we made about 5 trips down to Green Cove Springs, which is our storm mooring point down there. So we got to see a little bit of the river when we did that. Have your attention, the ferry is docking at this time. Please ensure that your parking brake is set on your vehicle. Stand by for a possible bump if we make contact with the slip wall while we're docking. Have a pleasant day, drive carefully, and come back to see us. On your way out through the parking lot, don't forget to stop by the hot dog stand. Pick you up a hot dog and a cold drink and maybe some boiled peanuts.
All right.